This episode of Soldier Knows Best is brought to you by CB1 Weight Gainer. Hey, what's up guys, Soldier Knows Best here. Very interesting titles for this video, especially if you've been watching me for a very long time. Now, recently I did a review of the Nexus 5 and I called it a very good phone. I had a couple shortcomings with the camera, battery life, but overall that's a very solid phone, the Nexus 5. I carry this around with me almost everywhere I go alongside my iPhone 5S. And I also said in that review that Android 4.4 KitKat was the best mobile OS that I've personally ever used. Now, I've been using Android devices and iOS devices for a few years now, but I've been primarily iOS ever since the launch of the very first iPhone when I switched over from the Singular 8525, which is a Windows phone back then, over to the very first generation iPhone. And I've been through that long journey of iOS and not having an app store, no multitasking, no copy and paste, all these different things that were wrong with it. And it was just kind of growing and going through those growing pains. And in that process, I saw the launch of Android. And Android kind of started off the same way. It was missing a lot of stuff. It wasn't very consistent. And for me, the first years of Android, I didn't see anything right then and there that really made me want to switch over from using an iPhone. Now, in this video, again, I'm not going to be bashing neither iOS or Android because I feel that both of them can coexist as you see right now. And it's great competition to have both of these OSs backed by these two companies, Google and Apple, going against each other. But over the past couple years, we've seen the progression of Android, especially with the launch of the Samsung Galaxy S3, really put Android out in the forefront of doing things a certain way. Now, in the beginning, Google really wanted everybody to, hey, you can customize Android, you can add so many different skins on it and all that stuff. But I've gotten the feeling now that Google actually wants us just to use pure Android, and that's what we get with these Nexus devices. And so with the Nexus lineup, the Nexus 4, Nexus 5, and the Nexus 7, Nexus 10, these tablets, Google is really wanting us to get that pure Android experience and fall back in love with that. And they really, I'm thinking, want us to get away from the TouchWiz UI, the HTC Sense, and all those different things. One, because it makes it harder for updates, and two, it's really hard for the consumer to get a very consistent experience. And so all that stuff is really just my kind of reservations about Android, how that's been for the past few years. But getting back to the topic of this video of switching over to Android, I'm in that transition right now. Now, this is not something I'm just doing right now today. I'm not using iOS ever again, just using Android. I'm not doing one of those type of changes. When it comes to my phone, at least, I've been using iOS for many years now. And it's because all these little changes with Android 4.4 KitKat, the design changes, the UI changes, it's just a very seamless experience while you're moving through the operating system from multitasking and checking your notifications to web browsing to checking Google Now. And one of the things is Google Now is just, to me, more useful for me than Siri is right now, because Siri I really only use now for setting reminders, setting calendar appointments and stuff like that. Google Now can do that, but plus more. You have these cards that can have specific information from weather to your favorite sports scores, travel information, all that stuff that something that I would check on a daily basis. Whereas with Siri, I may not use it on a daily basis. Again, I only use it for reminders and stuff like that. And so all these changes, again, is just how I personally use my phone now. The launch of Chromecast has actually taken over my use of AirPlay now in my living room. So if I'm on my laptop, I want to show somebody on my TV set, or I want to stream something from my device now, I use Chromecast often more than I use AirPlay right now, because it automatically changes inputs and loads the content up. And it's just, again, this is a more seamless experience. And so what are my current feelings about iOS? Well, I understand why iOS 7 may not feel as complete as a lot of people want it to be. And that's because, again, as I said this before, that Scott Forstall, who was in charge of iOS, he got the boot, basically, and Johnny Ive took over his spot. And he had less than a year to really make iOS his own, and that's not really a lot of time to take something that's been around for all this time and has been ran a certain way and to really kind of change it dramatically. You really can't do that within a year without alienating a certain amount of users. And so I'm kind of, giving them a slight pass until iOS 8 to give him enough time to really make iOS his own. And I'm pretty sure he can. I'm pretty sure, his just accolades with design in general could translate over to the iOS platform. He just needs a little bit more time. But also too, I think that Apple needs to stop with these yearly updates. We have Android 4.4 KitKat right now. More than likely we'll have Android 5.0 before iOS 8. So that's going to be two OSs, with Android, and they're going to have incremental updates as well, that they bring new features, they bring new things, they bring new UI tweaks. You won't have to wait an entire year for iOS 8 to get these changes. And I think Apple needs to at least take that from Google on how they update Android throughout the year instead of just one yearly massive update. And then if you're not bringing a lot to the plate with that one yearly update, that's really going to cause a lot of users to start looking elsewhere So that's one thing Apple needs to do. But again, for me, Apple, I think, still has the advantage with applications. That's been one of the main things why I use iOS over Android. But that gap is definitely shortened a little bit. But then they also get a lot of exclusive applications, and they get some of the best apps first. I mean, Instagram was out for a while on iOS back when only hipsters use it, but now it's on Android and everybody's using it. And certain apps like that usually come out for iOS first, and then they're ported over to Android. But again, we are seeing more and more apps being launched for both platforms at the same time. But I still think iOS has that advantage there. So right now, I don't download as many apps as I used to, and I just kind of use those same core applications that I've been using here for the past couple of years. I download new apps like Mailbox and other things like that, but I found myself just still using those stable applications that I'm just very comfortable with, and I don't just go searching through the iTunes store now looking for apps like I used to in the past. And so bottom line, guys, I think the most complete OS right now, when you look at the grand scheme of things and how everything works together, it's going to be Android 4.4 KitKat. Then also for me, the things at the top of my list of why I like Android aren't some of those traditional things that people say you can change out your keyboards, you can download widgets, you can root it, you can do all these different things. I really don't like to do all that stuff with my phone. I mean, that's why I've been using iOS for the longest. I just kind of like my phone out of the box, the OS, the way it is. I don't like to make any changes myself to the way it looks, but I do like to download, of course, third-party apps and stuff like that to increase the functionality. But I just like the phone to really speak for itself. To be honest, like right now, it just feels like they're out-appling Apple when it comes to the mobile OS. Now, iOS is still very powerful. And again, right now I'm just in a transition. I'm going to be carrying the iPhone 5S and the Nexus 5 around with me everywhere I go. I've already been doing that for the past month or so. And so I'm going to still be using both devices and both OSs. I mean, I'm still going to be using iOS on the iPad and so forth. But I just feel right now from the mobile standpoint, just the most complete OS is Android right now. But that's just how I feel right now. So what I want you guys to do is not try to start a flame war, but leave some educated comments down below and let us know what is your favorite OS and what do you like about it, but also too, what don't you like about your OS? Because it's not a perfect OS out there. Android isn't perfect, iOS isn't perfect. What do you want to see improve with it? And that may help somebody else who's looking to buy a certain phone or go with a mobile OS to see the pros and cons of both of them. And that's what I try to deliver for you in this video. And so there it is. That wraps up this video. Again, thanks for watching this video, guys, and I will catch you later. Peace. And now today's sponsor is CB1 Weight Gainer. Now, a lot of people are always worried about weight loss, but there are some skinny people out there that want to gain a little bit of weight, but healthy weight. And CB1 Weight Gainer will help you do that. They will help you intake more calories by making you hungrier and also slow down your metabolism. Again, you do this in a controlled way that's not going to make for unwanted weight gain, but it's going to be for a healthy, controlled weight gain that allow you to bulk up. And if you are trying to gain muscle or do whatever you want, try to look good for the ladies in the springtime. It is winter. You got to take care of your body in the winter. But CB1 Weight Gainer will help you out with that. So right now they have a buy one get one free offer with a full 30-day money back guarantee. And so if you want to try it out right now, go to cb1wg1.com. Again, that's cb1wg1.com. The link is down below to make it a little bit easier for you. And let me know what you think.